How's it going? This is Ryan with RMARK Trades, and I wanted to look at some trades I did today, all of which were losing. Luckily, I kept the losers pretty small, so even though a few losing trades didn't add up to a whole lot, but I want to review what I did because I was just on the wrong end of everything, it seemed, and I think there's some things to be learned from that. So first of all, we're opening up over here. One of the kind of key levels I've been watching as we've been approaching it is this 450 area. As you can see, we've had some rejections, some strong showing of support in this area on the daily chart. Quite a bit of price action around this level, quite a few rejections, quite a few support bounces. So as we were approaching it for the first time in a while, that was an area that I was really watching closely. But I'm gonna hop down into a 1 hour chart here and get kind of the rest of the levels I was watching. So coming into pre-market, when I was looking at this, trying to hide the day's action so that we don't have a spoiler here. One area that I was really looking at was this 449 on the hourly. Reason being, on what was this, Thursday, we came up, rejected right on the hourly, broke above, and it held as support all the way through the aftermarket, pre-market. You can also see that we had broken below it after Friday's trading session, and we had kind of failed to break above it. So we were bouncing around down in here, and to me, I was coming into the day with a bit of a bearish bias. You should try to avoid bias. You should try to be as objective as you can and just look at what's in front of you. I let the bias get the best of me today, and that ultimately led to me taking some losing trades. So we were falling from Friday, sold off, kind of making a series of lower highs, lower lows. One thing that I did notice here, and I should have paid more attention to it, put a little bit more emphasis, is we did find a double bottom where we bounce off, fail to go lower, come up, bounce off, and then we were opening up towards this 449 level in the morning. And so I had a downside bias to the downside. I thought that we might come up and retest this level and continue lower. If that wasn't the case, I was looking for a failure of the break, or the failure to break above 450. Look for a reject there. I'll hop down to the 5-minute chart here and look at the trades I took. I'll talk about why they didn't work out. So another area that I was kind of looking at was this. I think my axis is all messed up. I had this 449.5 level as well, and you can tell we had a big bounce on Friday's session, some action around here, and then we broke below it, rejected. So coming into this with a bearish bias, I was looking for a reject at that 449.5 level. Once we started to come up and failed to break above, have these longer wicks on these candles, I took a short position, and it did go red. The move wasn't much. It was from about 449.5 to, at the very maximum, 449.12. So less than a 40-cent move. what happened with me on the very first trade, I entered on this first candle. That's mistake number one. I probably should have waited for the very first candle to close and see where the next candle was to open and see how that was reacting to this level. But I did take a put somewhere around this area. I set my stop right around the top of this wick, and the very next candle stopped me out at the very top of the wick. So that's a lesson in two ways. One of which, taking this trade too early, being a little bit too eager to get into that position. Second lesson, setting my stop loss pretty tight, because theoretically this should have worked. We did go down. If I hadn't got stopped out, I would have been in profit, not for much. Like I said, this move is about 40 cents. But I could have avoided a loss there, at least broken even if I didn't take profits. But like I said, I had a bias to the downside, so I was looking for us maybe to come back and test the bottom of this channel. But we never did that. And I think an important thing to notice here is that the opening print, or the price at which the stock opens, played a pretty important part today. And that was the very bottom. It opened there, it retested it, and it never fell back below it. In my bias, I didn't see this break out of this wedge that this kind of like range that we formed pre-market. We broke above that, we kind of retested it, and we stayed above the opening price the entire day. So that's a pretty bullish indicator. But I took my first put here, got stopped out on second candle. I took another position on this third candle because I had gotten stopped out and I was watching it kind of fail to break this 449.5. So I re-entered puts. This I did break even. So I didn't take a loss on this trade. Once we started moving down, I moved my stop loss into break even. Since I'd already had a losing trade, I didn't want to continue to add more. And I did not take profits, and I got stopped out on this candle here as we came up and retested again. So those were my two initial trades. I should have really paid attention to that breakout of that range, a bullish breakout, and a retest of the opening print, and a failure to go lower. I should have thought that, those things adding up would mean that we'd move higher. It's pretty clear in hindsight now, which is why I'm taking a look at this. I think there's some lessons for me to learn. But my third and last trade was a put off 450. Or was it even? I'm trying to remember here. I should probably go back and rewatch. I took another put either on one of these candles or a retest of 450 and essentially got stopped out. No. There's no way I could have been dumb enough to take a third put on this, right? I'm thinking that's what had to happen. That's what had to happen. Because if I took a put up here, I wouldn't have got stopped out till like all the way over here. That is. So I think I actually, when I stopped at break even, I think I took another put and got broken out when we came up to this 450. That's what happened. So that's one that I'm definitely not proud of, and I held it past my stop loss. I was gonna say that if we set a new high, I would stop out. That would have been somewhere in this candle. I didn't stop out till we were up at 450. So yeah, a series of bad trades. I had a bias coming into the day that affected me. Had I been paying attention to what's quite obvious in terms of us breaking above this range, retesting the opening print, failing to go lower, that would have been an easy long for at least like $1 gain. Could have had a nice move out of that. But that's what going into the day with a bias and kind of sticking to my plan almost too much. Once it didn't work a couple times, I should have just looked for the next opportunity rather than being stubborn. But that is how I traded SPY today. not the greatest, but learning from it, and we'll be back tomorrow to trade it. All right. Hope all of you have a great day. Peace.